Welcome to the Gail Estella Survival Podcast. Where pain becomes purpose, no fear, no remorse. Say it again. Through the pain, through the fire, through the worst of my day. We made it, we made it. I found purpose in the breaking. Right there. Survival isn't a whisper. I know. Go if you listen, you survive. Still breathing, still alive. God never wastes the hurting. Every chapter had a rolling towel.
This is Gail Estella, and welcome to the Gail Estella Survival.
From pain comes purpose. No fear, no remorse. Survival isn't a whisper. Through the worst of my day. And some breakers and no whisper. It's so raw.
Hello, everyone. This is Gail Estella, and welcome to the Gail Estella Survival Podcast. Here's where we turn pain into purpose, because survival isn't a whisper, it's a roar. And before we get started, there's a couple of things I need from you. The first thing is, would you please go and like, share, and subscribe to the Gail Estella Survival Podcast? Where are you tuning in from? I'm here in Aiken, South Carolina. Put in the comment box below where you're tuning in from. Are you following me on all of my social media platforms? If not, please do so at Gail Estella. And lastly, Through It All by Gail Estella. Have you purchased your copy yet? If not, it's not too late. You can go to TrueVinePublishingCompany.org, Amazon.com, and anywhere books are sold. My guest for tonight, someone inboxed me and told me that I need to reach out to this person because she had a story of strength, boldness, and faith. And I reached out to her and she told me a little bit about her story. And she told me that she had lost not one, not two, but 3 children. And just to hear her strength gave me strength. Because we think about a person losing 1 child, what it can do to them, 2, but 3. But she is still standing. She is still thriving. And I consider her a conqueror. And I'm going to allow her to tell her story. I am so glad that she agreed to be a part of the podcast tonight. And I am going to allow her to tell her story. Miss Teresa Barnette.
Hey, how are you?
Doing?
I'm okay.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being a part of the Gail Estella Survival Podcast.
You're very welcome. It's my pleasure.
Yes. And your story. Whew. When I'm thinking about it now. Mm-hmm. And the reason I say that, my neighbor across the street, their grandson just passed and he was only 30 years old. And I just came from over there and I saw the look on their face and I saw the hurt that they were experiencing and the hurt that his mother was experiencing. And it took me back to my own story when my daughter passed and how you just don't want to wish that type of pain on anyone. But you've had to endure it 3 times?
Yeah.
So do you want to tell us about that? If you want to start with the death of your first child, and we can go in order, and I would like to know their names. So you want to call their names as you talk about them and how old they were when they passed, okay?
Okay. So first, I kind of want to tell you all more about how I had them. I guess in the order that I had them, so that you can understand the order that they passed on. So in 97, I had a son named Curtis Jr. 98, I had a daughter named Legacy. And then in 2006, I had a son named James. And then in 2009, I had my baby girl, Chloe. So in 2007, my third born child, James, passed on. And he was a year old when he passed. He was ill from the day that he was 9 days old. He became ill, and he spent majority of his life in the hospital. Fast forward to 2021, my oldest, my firstborn, passed
I
on.
want to cut you off a little bit, okay? Because I want us to talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
He was a baby.
He was a baby.
And you said once he became 9 days old, he got sick.
Yes, 9 days.
So you had a healthy child.
He was healthy, yes.
For 9 days.
Yes.
Do you mind sharing what his illness was?
So, and this, the number 9 is going to come up again. So if we could just kind of think about the number 9, but the number 9 is going to come up again. He began to, he began to vomit. And it just wouldn't stop. It became more and more. And I took him into the hospital, to his pediatrician, and they immediately rushed him to the hospital. And what had happened was his small bowels twisted and cut off the blood supply. Immediately, he had to go into surgery. My baby, he endured so many surgeries. Ultimately, I always say we, but ultimately we had to leave the state of Rock Hill and go to Omaha, Nebraska, to receive a transplant. And he received a small bowel, he received liver, pancreas. And we were in Omaha, Nebraska until, for 4 months.
And how old was he at the time of the transplant?
At the transplant, he was 7 months old at the time of transplant.
So how was that for you, a 7-month-old? Because you still had 2 other children.
I did. My 2 oldest, Junior and Legacy. Yeah.
Yeah. So you had to leave them.
I did.
To leave them to go take care of James.
Yes.
How was that as a mother seeing an infant that hadn't even had a fair chance at life yet to have to endure so much?
So it was hard. It was very, very hard. And it was hard. And sometimes I was grateful that he made it to 7 months. Mm-hmm. Because at 9 days, they came in and they told me that they didn't think he was going to make it. And then at 10 days, they told me he wasn't going to make it. But he made it to 7 months. I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's okay.
But he made it. He made it. Okay. He made it to 7 months. Mm-hmm. And so I was grateful and I was very optimistic. I felt my son was going to make it and I was going to be able to bring him home. Mm-hmm. And so even though it was really, really hard, I just knew, I knew he was going to be okay. I knew I never lost faith that he wasn't going to be okay. And then so when he passed, honestly, it was devastating, but I didn't think about me at the moment. I thought about his brother and his sister and how I was going to come home and explain what happened and explain to them, that he had passed. And so at the time when he passed, I didn't really. It wasn't even really about me. I was just ready to get home and be with his brother and his sister.
So you left with James In lieu of him getting better, getting well.
Yes. Yes.
And then you had to return home
Empty-handed.
without him.
And it was a feeling that I didn't know how to feel. Sometimes I was just it was very hard, and I couldn't. It wasn't real. It just didn't feel real. Mm-hmm. But, I had people that, loved me and tried their best. But at times it just didn't feel okay. Mm-hmm. And, I believe one of the hardest parts that I can remember is when we gave away his baby bed, his crib. And I think it tore me up to give away his items. I don't know if it was because in my mind, with the crib being there, it was hope that he would be coming back.
Yes.
But just, finally giving away all of his items. And in all honesty, while I was in Omaha, Nebraska, I was purchasing items for him, thinking that I would be able to bring him home, or, that we was going to need those items. So ultimately I had to start giving away some of those things too. Or I just say all of them. So I think that was one of the hardest parts is finally giving away the items and
So what I'm hearing you saying, and please don't take this the wrong way, because some people may say that you were in denial. And then some other people may say that you were exercising your faith and your trust in God. Because you said regardless of what happened, you knew that he was going to be okay.
Yes. I thought I was going to bring my baby home healthy.
Yes. I understand.
And that was my thought. And I'm not going to be, after he passed, I believe I was in denial. But never once when he was living, I never once thought that he was not going to make it. I knew, and I prayed for it, and I prayed for it, and I prayed for it. And, even when the doctors told me, I think that we should let him go, because we did ultimately I had a meeting with all of the surgeons, and, counselors and things. We had a large meeting, and they really was trying to get me to just say, yeah, let's go ahead and let him go. But I just wouldn't do it. I was like, just let him keep fighting. Let him, tell you when it's time for him to stop fighting. And I really truly believe that's what happened. I believe it was just time for him to go. He made that decision. Not necessarily him, but God made the decision, and he made the decision to go along with him. Mm-hmm.
So how did you comfort him during that time? Because he was so young.
Yeah.
How did you comfort him and love on him during that time?
So James was, because he was in the hospital his whole life, mm-hmm. with the exception of we were able to bring him home for a little bit, and then he had to ultimately go back into the hospital. James did a lot of self-soothing himself. So because he was, he wasn't around a lot of people. He was really in the hospital most of the times. He would do this thing where he would twirl his feet. He would just twirl his feet from side to side. He would move his head from side to side. And I don't know if people are familiar with those that they don't have people around them, and they don't have, it's kind of like they have like little tics and things. And that's kind of what it was. But the one thing about him is he when I turned on music, he would pat his hand on the side of the bed. When I would go into the hospital room after he had his surgery, they had him for the most part medically in a comatose state.
Yes.
But when I would go in there, when they pulled him out of that comatose state, he was out for a little bit, and I would be like, "Hey, James," and he would open up his eyes and he'll look around. But most of the time I would play music for him. And he was he was something else, because, you know, when you're in the hospital, regardless of how many windows you have, it's fairly dark in the hospital.
Yes.
And those doctors and nurses would come in and flip the light on, and he would take his arm and he would fold it over his arms because the light of his eyes, because the light was too bright. And then I would tell them, I said, well, he's doing that because the lights are so bright. And so they got to the point to where they would take a towel and put it over his eyes, and then they would turn the light on. So he was there. He was there the entire time. And I know he was there. And I just talked to him and played music for him. He really liked music.
That's beautiful. Oh.
Yeah.
So you had to go home. You had to give away the baby bed, all of his belongings. Did he ever get a chance to sleep in his crib?
He was there he did come home for about, I would say maybe about 30 days.
Okay. So
he came home. And then, so what he had, I don't know if anybody's familiar, but he had TPN, is nutrition, because he wasn't taking food. He didn't have, he had problems with his gut. And so he had a port, in his chest, and that port damaged. And so when that port damaged, I had to take him back, and then they just kept him. They kept him, and they moved it from here in his chest close to, I think it was in his main artery up here. So they moved it from here to his groin. And when they moved it to his groin, they kept him. They kept him the whole time. Yeah.
So as a parent, we sacrifice for our children. So when they told you that you were going to have to go away, did you think twice about it?
I didn't at all, and it was hard. It was really hard because, my son Curtis Jr. and my daughter Legacy, they were in elementary school.
Yes.
And when I left, it was in August. No, when I left it was August 1st. So they were getting ready to start school. And so the only thing I could think of was like, okay, they're getting ready to start school, but I still have to go. And, I think one of the hardest parts about it was, I had people telling me that I needed to come back home. I mean, like they actually told me I couldn't leave my infant in Nebraska. I know I had my 2 children at home, but I still couldn't leave my infant. So it was. I played tug and war with myself a lot. But what I did was, as a mom, I would wake up early in the morning and wake up my 2 to make sure that they were up and ready to go to school. When they came home from school, I would call them. When they went to bed, we were on the phone together. If one of them caught, I remember very vividly, Legacy, she cut her finger, and she was on the phone with me, and I'm teaching her and I'm telling her, okay, so now you have to make sure you clean it up. You have to hold the tissue on it to make it stop bleeding. And then you have to put the bandage. So I was as visible as of a mom as I could be. And it was a lot of over the phone, but it was as much as I possibly could.
Did you ever experience any forms of guilt by not
Absolutely.
having? Yeah.
Absolutely. I couldn't do Legacy's hair, and I couldn't go with them to school, go school shopping because I was away. I missed the very first day of school. Typically, I would take them to school the first day of school, and I missed that. So there was a lot of things that I missed with my two oldest that I wish I could have been there, but I also knew that James needed me. He didn't have anybody to talk for him.
Yes, advocate for him.
Yeah.
My daughter had to go to St. Jude, and the blessing, I think, for us was that it was just the two of us, her father, but I only had one child. But I remember seeing the families there with that sick child, with their sick child, and their kids would come in during the holidays and stay with them. And I can remember one lady crying one day, and she said she had gotten a phone call from her daughter because her menstrual cycle had started. And she wasn't there with her, and she felt bad about that. But as you said, here's another person that needs you in a different manner.
Right.
And you just can't trust people to take care of your children the way that they would if you weren't there, because if you're not there, you don't know what's going on with them.
You're absolutely right. And I had to fight for that boy so many times.
Yes. Yes.
And different doctors, and I had to, make sure that they treated him right.
Yes.
So much so to the day that he passed, it was like a movie. And I can still remember it. It was like a movie. James didn't heal. So they cut him from under his rib cage to right up above his groin, and it never closed. So the day that he passed, they called me the night before because I stayed at the Ronald McDonald House.
Yes.
And they called me the night before, and they say, James, he had, a bleed, and we think you should come. And then so I went there and I sat in the room with them as much as I could. And then they finally told me, go in there and in the little private area and get some sleep. And I did. And when they came to get me, he was bleeding out. And so they had to rush him to the ER. Rushed him to the emergency surgery, and it was the weekend, and so everything was closed down. And I can remember as we're in the pediatric intensive care unit, they were in there and they asked if I wanted to come in, and I was like, yeah, this is my baby. I have to go in. And I just kind of talked to him, and I told him, he did a good job, and that it was okay for him to go. And, I told him that we would be all right. And so we'll be okay. It's okay for you to go. And then they rolled him. We all ran to the emergency surgery department. And, I just kind of sat there and waited. And when the doctors came out, I already knew because his demeanor was different. And so I already knew what happened. And I was there. I had made friends at the Ronald McDonald House, but for the most part, I was there, by myself. So I had to go back to the Ronald McDonald's house by myself and pack up everything and get on the plane by myself. And it was just, and I can remember we had a layover. So I couldn't get back home right away. We had a layover, and somebody was complaining about the layover. Somebody, and the the young man he's just fussing about the layover. And I remember I was upset. I was very upset. And I can remember very vividly, like, I just lost my son.
Yes.
And, he hurry up and, just kind of, oh, I'm sorry. And I was just, I'm not engaging with the fact that we have a layover. I'm numb because I just lost my son. I don't really have anything to say about all of that. But then I finally made it back home the next day and was able to see my oldest two and hug them and love on them and just, spend time with them.
How was it for them losing their baby brother that they had basically only got to spend time with for 30 days?
Well, they spent the 9 days when he was first, when he first came home. And then, he went into the hospital for some time. And then, yes, he came back home for about 30 days, a month or so. I have to be honest. And this is me just being as transparent as I could possibly be. I have a lot of guilt today, right now, because I feel like I felt them when it came to them losing their baby brother. It was like he was there and then he was gone. We didn't talk about him. We didn't talk about the death like we should have. I didn't get them the counseling that they needed. And, it was just, I just didn't do as I think about it and as I have thought about it. James's birthday is tomorrow. And as I think about it, I did not do right by them. I just really didn't. But I try not to be so hard on myself because I had lost a son and I didn't know what to do for myself.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. I didn't know what to do for myself, but it still hurts. It still hurts. I still feel guilty because I didn't take the time that they needed. To allow them to grieve, because in all honesty, you have to.
Yes.
You have to.
Yes. And sometimes I think we just don't know. And again, I say I feel blessed because I didn't have anyone else I had to think about when Asia died. So I could take the time to spend and pour into my grieving process.
Right.
My grieving journey. But then I've spoken with other mothers that feels the exact same way that you feel. Mm-hmm. Because someone is going to get neglected through the process. And often it is the other children.
Right.
Because the mother, you just, like you say, you've lost your own, you've lost your baby. Have you forgiven yourself? Even though you still feel guilty sometimes, but have you forgiven yourself?
That's a hard question.
Okay.
It really is a hard question.
Okay.
Because I honestly don't know, because I think about it often. Mm-hmm. So I don't know that, we're so, and I'm not going to say we, I'm going to talk about me. I'm so hard on self.
Yes.
So I don't know if I've gotten to the point to where I've forgiven myself for not providing them the support that they needed then, because they were babies themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, I just, when you think about everything that's happened and, it's just hard. So sometimes I think about it and sometimes I just put it away.
Yeah.
Sometimes I think about it and I have to tell myself I did the best that I could.
You did the best that you could.
But it doesn't make it any easier when I think about it. I really truly believe that things would be different if I had have taken the steps that I've taken, that I should have taken when he passed on.
So I hear you saying things would have been different, and they might have been.
Yeah.
We don't know, because ultimately, God is in control of everything.
Oh, yeah.
God is in control. And I think sometimes that's the enemy that gets in our head. And your feelings are valid. Your feelings are very valid. So I'm not trying to demise them or diminish them at all. But they can keep us in a place that sometimes keeps us from moving forward.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So take us on the next, you lost James and you had your two other kids.
My two other kids.
Just told us how that journey was for you. So fast forward us to your next
2021. So 2021, Curtis Jr. passed. And I can say that his passing was very hard. Very, very difficult. And I mean, it's even hard now, just talking about it. To this day, I still have, and it's been 4 years, I still have items of his that I don't know how to throw them away or give them away or but it's not debilitating. I can still get up in the mornings,
Yes.
I can, go and go to work and for some time, and this is with any grief, for some time after he passed, I couldn't hear his voice or see his face. And I guess, the grief was so heavy to it just blocked those things. And when Junior, and I called him Junior, his name is Curtis Jr. When he laughed, it would just brighten the room, it would. And for some time, it was like I just couldn't hear it. I just couldn't hear it. For some time after he passed, so he passed during COVID.
Yes. How old was he?
He was 24.
24.
Yeah. So he passed during COVID. And so I was working from home and I have dogs. So, and I didn't have a fence. And I would have to walk my dog, so he could go relieve himself or what have you. When I tell you my mind, I was so consumed with grief that every time I walked my dog, I locked myself out my house. Every single solitary time, I would lock myself out my house. It got so bad to where I took a key to my mom's house and I was like, hey, I don't know what's going on. I just know that I locked myself out because my mind was just going a mile a minute, and I was just thinking and thinking, and I was just in a depressive state.
Yes.
It got so bad to where my chest, it felt like something was like a truck or something was just on my chest, and I just couldn't breathe. And I was like, I can't continue like this. I don't know where I'm going to be. I don't know what's going to happen. So I have to get help. And so this time, when my son passed, I had to get some counseling.
Yes.
And I honestly believe that's the only way I was able to make it out.
So after he passed, was he ill?
No. He, based on, the evidence or whatever, it shows that he died by a self-inflicted gunshot wound. So, and it's hard because I blamed myself.
Yes.
Again, when I say that I felt like I failed because I didn't get him the help he needed when he was a young boy and he lost his brother. I felt like I failed because I missed it. I didn't know the signs. I didn't know that, the whole entire time he was crying out for help, and I didn't see it. I just thought he was one of those, just, I don't care, like
nonchalant,
whatever. Yeah. Just very nonchalant. And I didn't know he was in pain.
He was hurting.
And when he passed on a Wednesday, and I felt something. And if it's any parents that's listening to me, you have to pay attention to your gut. I felt something. And I said to myself, I said, I'm going on Friday to check on him. I'm going on Friday to check on him. I just didn't feel right. And then on Monday, I remember texting him and I was like, hey, bud. I said, you okay? And he said, yes, ma'am, I'm okay. I said, good. I love you. And then on Tuesday, I texted him again. And I said, I have your W-2s. And he said, okay, send me a picture. And I was like, okay. So I sent him a picture. And then Wednesday morning, about 9 or 10 o'clock, my daughter Legacy reached out and she was like, hey, the roommate reached out and something's going on with Junior. And I said, okay, I'm going to call his phone. And I called his phone and it went straight to voicemail. And then I called the roommate and the roommate was just sobbing and sobbing and sobbing. And he couldn't, talk to me and tell me what was going on. And then he was like, do you want to talk to the police? And I was like, the police? Yeah, I want to talk to the police. And then the police called me back. He said, Miss Barnette, hang up. I'll call you right back on my own phone. And then he called me back and then he was just like, I just want to tell you that, nobody did this. And I was like, did what? And then that's when he told me, he said your son had been shot. And then he told me where. And I just buckled. Like I couldn't I couldn't form a word, and I didn't know what to say. I didn't know what to do, and then I called his dad and I was like, yo, I need you to get over there to to his apartment. And then I could feel myself becoming upset, like frantic, like, why isn't he moving? Like, why isn't he going? Like, but it had to click. Like, I'm telling his dad, like, something just happened to his son, And so
he had to process it as well.
He did. But in my mind, I'm like, hurry up, go. Like, why are you still sitting there? Why are you not, why are you not running? Why are you not? So, but then I needed help. So I went over to my mom's and forgot yet again that, she's up in age and she doesn't move as fast. But I know I needed somebody to go to, because at this time I'm living in Lancaster, and I know I needed somebody to ride to Rock Hill with me. And, and then I tell her what happened. And then so she is upset. And then in my mind, I'm like, come on, let's go. We got to go. We got to go. But then we finally make it to Rock Hill, and I was able to talk to the coroner, because they come out. And I had a conversation with her, because regardless of what the police said, in my mind, I'm thinking, no, this is an accident. This has got to be an accident. It's got to be an accident. Yes. And then I had a conversation with her. And then that's what she also said. And so I had to take it. And I think when going through this process, I had to grieve how he passed before I could even begin to grieve him.
That makes sense.
And I don't, and I had to, because in the Black community, it's not spoken of, and it's looked down upon. Yeah. And we don't raise our children that way. We don't, and I can remember during the funeral, and the pastor, he knew Junior from a little boy, baptized him. He rode on, he was the bus driver, and Junior rode on his bus. And we were sitting there, and, the pastor now, he's now deceased. And I never brought it up to him, but during the sermon, he said that he gave up. He said, Junior gave up. And that tore me up. Like, this was a sickness, even though you can't see the sickness. He was sick. And so it took a lot for me to just kind of be like, okay, this is what happened. It's nothing that he did, he was truly sick.
Mm-hmm. And I like what you're saying, not the point of what happened, but first of all, in our community, we don't talk about suicide, or death by suicide. And like you said, a lot of people look at it as a weakness, but it's not a weakness, it's a mental illness.
It is.
And I think when society begins to realize that, there will be more empathy, there will be more sympathy, there will be more research, there'll be more, I don't know the word I'm looking for, but it would be more education.
Yes.
Put into it that we can learn from it and learn how to recognize the signs. Right. And to not even, to recognize them and to accept them and do something about it. Because a lot of times, and I'm not speaking about you, but a lot of times we as people, we as parents, we see signs in our children. But a lot of times we don't always address it because it's hard.
Yeah.
And we don't know how.
Yeah.
So it goes undone. And again, I'm not speaking about you. I'm just speaking about as far as the mental health situation situation in our community.
Mm-hmm.
And I just looked up something. According to data published by the Office of Minority Health for 2022, the age-adjusted suicide rate for non-Hispanic Black males was 4.9 per 100,000 people.
Mm-hmm.
And especially for, I think it's ages 14 through 25, the rate is alarmingly high, alarmingly
Mm-hmm.
high.
Mm-hmm.
And it's increasing because there's so many disparities for our young Black men. There's so many, so much that they have to endure, so much they have to go through on a daily basis.
It is.
And we expect them to be strong. And
before they're able to get a job.
Yeah. And their bodies are still growing. Their brains are not yet fully matured to take on such heavy weight of the world.
They're taught to be manly man. They're they're not taught to it's okay to cry.
Yes.
It's okay to reach out for help. And not just, African American, Black and African American men, but just in Black and African American households in general. Yes. It's okay to say, you know what? I need help.
It's okay not to be okay.
Right. It really truly is. It is okay to just be like, you know what? I'm going to seek counseling.
Yes.
I'm going to, even if you don't want to go to counseling, you can talk to somebody. And, it's the fear of, well, if I talk to, somebody, then they're going to tell somebody else and they're going to tell somebody else. So that's what's going on in our household. We have to have somebody that we can talk to. And in all honesty, even if you are not struggling mentally, it's still okay to get help. Periodically. You can just go and talk to somebody. It's okay to and I have to say, and I don't know about all jobs, but a lot of the jobs now, they are paying for you to go to counseling, or you get a certain number of sessions on the company, for mental health. And it's okay, and while I can say to whomever I talk to, I'm not ashamed to say I seek counseling. I'm not ashamed to say that, because with everything that I've gone through, who wouldn't want to seek counseling? Yeah. I need it, But you don't have to tell anybody that you're talking to a counselor. You can keep that between you and your counselor, just as long as you're getting the help that you need.
So during this time, you've lost James. Now you lost Curtis. Curtis Jr. Were you ever angry with God, or did you?
Very angry.
Yeah.
Very.
Were you angry with Curtis for not feeling that he could come to you and talk to you?
Very. And I, I even talked to my counselor, and I told her, I said, I'm ashamed to say this. I said, but I'm so mad at him.
Yes.
He knows that I would have done anything in my power to have helped him. I would have gone broke to help him. And, she had to basically tell me, when people's minds are made up, there's really nothing that I could have done. And I feel like he was maybe doing me a favor by not telling me. He didn't want me to know. Yeah.
And he might have thought you've lost your baby, and he didn't want to put anything else on you.
Yeah.
He felt he could handle it himself.
Yeah. And then, like I said, I feel like too, he was struggling with the fact that he had lost his baby brother too. So that contributed to his actions. That contributed to his sickness, and that's why I say even now to this day, I feel regret for not providing the counseling when he was younger so that he could learn how to grieve for himself.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't have been so heavy on him in the end.
Have you forgiven him?
Yes.
Good.
Yes. Good. I have.
So you've lost 2 children.
Mm-hmm.
You have Legacy.
Mm-hmm. Legacy was my spitfire, man. She was my everybody loved her. First meet. You can meet her one time and everybody fell in love with her. And it's only been 2 years, a little over 2 years. And I have to say that Junior passed in 2021. And Legacy passed in 2023. 2.5 years apart. They were a year apart in age, and they passed 2.5 years apart.
How was it for her when she lost her brother?
Legacy, she talked about Junior a lot, and I have to say, Legacy was totally different with her brother James too. Like regardless if I talked about him, regardless of if her dad talked, she was going to acknowledge her brother. She was going to she acknowledged her baby brother. She would talk about him. She was like, that's my brother. I'm going to talk about him, and even with Junior, she felt like, okay, she would post on she did a post on social media, on her social media platform. She was like, you know what, Junior, don't worry about it. I'm going to take care of Mom and Chloe. I got them. She said he was her role model. She and I talked about him quite often. I remember very distinctly, Junior passed in January, and my birthday was that following March, and I just couldn't be home. And so I said, I'm leaving, I'm going out of town. And I took my mom and I took Legacy with me and I took Chloe with me, and we went out of town, and we just kind of, I had never been to Charleston before. So we just kind of rode around and toured the sites or what have you. And I remember Legacy and I, we just sat in the room and we just talked about him. We talked about him and we cried but, she, shared a lot of pictures and of them all the time on Facebook, and she shouted him out on Facebook, and she had clothing made with, with his name on it. She loved her brothers. She loved them. And she even loved her sister that's here now. She loved her sibling. She really did. She, like I said, she was my spitfire. She loved to have fun, and everybody loved her. Everybody that talked to her and just kind of, gotten to know who she was, they really, truly loved who she was as a person.
And how did she pass?
So, again, she was my party girl, my spitfire. She, her birthday is July the 9th. And on she decided to go to Puerto Rico to celebrate her birthday. and she was there for a day or two. She didn't know the area really. She had never traveled before, and it was honestly her very first time taking a plane, and she was so excited about the plane. She looked up all of the instructions online, and said, "Okay, Mom, my bag needs to be this big." And she got the ruler and was measuring her bag, and she made sure she took her blanket and she made sure she had, everything that she needed. And she hopped the plane, and she texted me on the way out, called me and talked to me when she was at the airport. So when she made it to Puerto Rico, she called me.
Did she go alone?
She had one friend with her.
Okay.
Yeah, and they were out late one evening, one night. Of course, they young, partying, celebrating. Mm-hmm. And she was crossing the street, and they would doing everything by foot because she just felt like she needed to see the scenery, and she just wanted to walk and stuff. And so she was crossing the road, and a car struck her. And then I got a phone call. So that night before she went out, they was at the beach, and she FaceTimed my youngest, and my youngest brought the phone in there to me, and she was just out there in the water, and she was like, "Mom, look, it's so beautiful." And when I tell you, she called me every moment while she was gone, and she texted me every moment while she was gone. She just had herself a good time. And I remember her being out in the ocean, and I was like, "Legs, first of all, how far in the ocean are you?" And she was like, "Oh, I'm just, I said, "Well, where is your friend?" And she's, spin the phone around to a friend. And I said, "Well, you need to go back there where she is. You too far out." And I remember, I said, "Legs, please be careful." And she said, "Mom, I will, I promise." So we all went to bed, and that was a Saturday night. On Sunday morning, I received a phone call that she had been hit by a car, and she was in critical condition, and I needed to make my way to Puerto Rico. And so yet again, with a different child, I had to hop a plane by myself, make my way to Puerto Rico. God sent me an angel. I'm sitting there in the airport, and I'm shaking, like I'm just shaking all over, and I'm trying to figure out how am I going to find her, and how am I going to get to, the Airbnb there was at, and I'm just sitting up here, and I'm just thinking, like, how am I going to do this? Like, I've never been to Puerto Rico. I've never been, I don't travel, like. And I'm just sitting there, and I'm rocking, and there was a lady that was sitting beside me, and she said, and she was talking to me about the plane. She said, "Oh, this is going to be a big plane." And she said, "It's a lot of people, like all these people." And I was like, "Yeah, it's going to be a big plane." And she was like, and she asked me where I was going. I said, "Well, I'm going to Puerto Rico." And she said, "Are you on vacation?" I was like, "No, ma'am." I said, "My daughter, she was hit by a car, and she's in critical condition. I need to get to Puerto Rico." And she's like, "Oh, where's she at?" And I said, and I told her the name of the hospital. And then she said, hold on a minute, hold on. And I was like, "Okay." And then she got on the phone, and she started speaking in Spanish to somebody on the phone. And then she said, "Me and my husband gonna take you to the hospital." She said, "So when you get on the plane," she said, "when you get off the plane, you stick with me." She said, "You don't go anywhere. You don't go up to anybody else." She said, "Me and my husband." I would assume, is a blessing in disguise, because it could have gone any way. I could have, I could have made it to the hospital as I did, alive and well, or I could have not made it at all. So I took it as God sent me an angel, because her and her husband took me to the hospital, and we walked around the hospital again. It was about 1:00 at night. 1:00 the following morning when I got there, we walked around until we could find, where she was. They wouldn't let me in because it was so late, but at least I knew where she was.
Yes.
And then they took me to the Airbnb, and I made my way there, and I got there, and I was able to go see the night, the day after, or go to bed and sleep for a few hours. Then I was able to see her.
And how many days afterwards did she pass?
She lived for 9 days.
Mm.
And remember, I said the number 9.
Come back up. 9 months.
He was 9. So he was 9 days old.
9 days
when he got sick.
Yeah, and she lived for 9 days.
He lived for 9 days.
Mm-hmm.
She had a tattoo of 9 on her neck. And the purpose of the 9 is because a lot of me, her dad, and her sister, and her brother Junior, all had numbers that added up to the number 9. So her birthday is on the 9th of July. Her sister's birthday is on the 9th of December. My son Junior, his birthday was May the 18th. So the 1 and the 8 was 9. And then her dad's birthday is falls. His increment is 1 and 8. It equals up to 9. And she was just like, so she had the 9 tattooed on her. And she said, because everybody's number was 9, the birthdays added up to 9. And she would say, everybody's birthdays add up to 9, with the exception of James. I never told her that at day 9 is when James got sick, because he was 9 days old when he got sick. So that number 9 is weirdly connecting. And also, James had a blanket when he was in the hospital in Omaha, Nebraska. My son Junior took the blanket and he kept it. And then when he passed, Legacy took the blanket. And then the blanket ended up back with me.
Back with you.
Yeah.
The number 9. In the Bible, the number 9 often represents divine completeness, finality, or the fruit of the Spirit, something brought to fullness or maturity by God.
Yeah.
Completeness. So now you've lost 3 children. What is going through your mind, or what is going through you when Legacy dies? Are you questioning God by now?
I was angry.
Yes.
Almost immediately, I was angry. I remember I was talking to somebody on the phone, and I was like, upset. And I can remember asking, I was like, why he keeps breaking my heart over and over and over. I don't understand. Why did you give me these babies to fall in love with, to then just take them away?
Mm-hmm.
Let alone have my baby girl here, and she had to experience as much loss as she has to experience. Like, why would you do that?
Mm-hmm. And that was going to be my question. She's experienced all of this loss. How did she handle it? Because I would assume by this time her sister, the two of them would have grown very close with each other.
Oh, absolutely. She was. She's still angry. She's still angry. She's still angry.
How old is Legacy now? I mean, how old is Chloe now?
Chloe now, she's 15. She'll be 16 in December. Yeah. So but she's still angry. She, you know, Junior was her best friend, and they, you know, when he lived with me, they were writing a book together, and he would, you know, I could remember he would yell across the hall, like, he would call her Big Head, what page you on, you know? And so she was angry, because she felt like she didn't, you know, after he had moved out, she did not reach out to him enough, and she didn't talk to him enough, you know? And then when Legacy passed, it was, you know, her and Legacy was, you know, they were thick as thieves. You know, Legacy would take her places, you know, they went to the fair, and Legacy would go out. Legacy went out, Taco Tuesdays. They would go out every Tuesday, and her friend, and they would go out and they would eat tacos. They would experience tacos from a different place. And she would come home, and past time for Chloe to be in bed, but she would come home and she would bring Chloe back something from her, you know, venturing out to these restaurants, and she would always bring her something back, and you know, she would include her in all kinds of things. They were thick as thieves. You know, when I came home, because I yet again had to leave from home, take a flight, and then come home without my child.
Yes.
It was devastating. It was devastating for her. It really was.
Did you get her? Is she in counseling now?
So I have had to force her to go to counseling. She's one that would clam up. You know, the counselor would ask her certain things, and, you know, try to talk to her. She would clam up and she wouldn't talk. So, you know, I tried to play it smart, and I said, you know, I'm gonna go through the school, and I would make it. I'm going to make it a requirement that the counselor would call you out of class and talk to you. But the issue is when she gets comfortable with the counselor, it's just like it's not really helping. So I believe what I'm going to have to do really is just keep her moving. And I hate to do it that way, because ultimately, you know, the more comfortable you get, you have to link up with your counselor. You have to be able to get raw and you know, be able to, you know, tell your counselor things that you're ashamed to tell your best friend, you know. But once it gets to that point with her, it's just like, she's just, oh, well, you know, it's not really helping anymore. So I have to, you know, find her somebody else that's going to make her, you know. And it's hard, though, you know, it's really, truly hard to, you know, when you have somebody that's just not willing to talk, that's not willing to open up.
So how do you pay attention to her?
Oh, I talk to her all the time. I feel bad for her sometimes because now I hover.
Yes.
I hover. I you know, I don't want her to go too far. I don't, you know, I watch her location, you know, I call her, make sure she's on the school bus. You know, I may text her throughout the day. So I hover now.
Yes. And how does that make her feel?
She doesn't like it. She doesn't like it. She doesn't like it. But she understands. She understands, but she doesn't like it.
Yes.
And you know, and I have to be completely honest with her and be like, listen, this is where I am.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry.
Ooh.
I don't have the luxury of trusting. I know I'm supposed to have faith that you're going to be okay. And that, you can go to the football games, you can go to, a party, you can go to wherever and not be, and I shouldn't be afraid. I said, but I'm terrified. I'm not going to lie.
How hard is that for you? Because it sounds like it is so hard and heavy for you to have to carry that weight as well.
Yeah, it is. It is. And I wish I could be a little bit more, and I don't know what the right word is, but I wish I could just be able to just let her go but I can't. I just can't. It's too soon. It's too soon.
And I think most parents would be the exact same way, because my daughter was sick and I hovered over her, to make sure she was okay and nothing happened to her. I can only imagine losing 3 children and you have the one, and sometimes we're helpless, we can't do anything but hover.
Yeah. Yeah.
So where are you today? Because you, how has God kept you?
Every day he wakes me up. I'm thankful. And I ask for strength all the time. Just give me strength to make it through this day. And at my lowest, I remember waking up one morning, and I just kind of looked at myself in the mirror and I just said, I said, God, I can't take it anymore. I said, I go to bed in pain. I go to sleep in pain. Just tell me what you want me to do. I don't know what to do. Just tell me what you want me to do, because I just felt like when legs passed, a part of my spirit went, because I had been through so much. Like, it just, a part of it just kind of,
yeah,
okay, it is what it is. But when I asked God to help me, I started, I thought about these brunches. A brunches started coming. I was like, a brunch, like, I don't know, like, what I'm gonna do with that, like, how I'm gonna go with that, and where I'm gonna go, like, what I'm supposed to do. And so I started, started having brunches, sponsoring brunches, and I invited a group of ladies out, and through the brunch, it has allowed me to pour out whatever it is I'm feeling.
So it's a sacred place for women to be honest and vulnerable.
Open. Yeah. And I feel like, okay, most of us aren't, most people they're not going to talk about how they're feeling. So I've been in a place to where I've experienced grief. Through grief, I've experienced depression.
Yes.
Through grief, I've experienced anxiety. Through grief, I've experienced loneliness. And so if I could, get up and I could, talk to these ladies and say, this is where I'm at, then it's going to help me heal. is going to allow me, to go through the healing process as well as help somebody else. And I know through counseling or what have you, it's like, oh, well, you found purpose. And I guess that's what it is. But I just know that it helps me to be around women that wholeheartedly receive what I'm saying.
Yes.
And then when they receive it, either they're able to make a step that they typically wouldn't be able to make.
Yes.
They're able to come in and join in and just support.
Yes.
I have some people that will never not come. They always come with whatever it is. If I say, come along, they come. And I tell you, some of the people that I didn't think would show up.
Yes.
Legacy has a group of friends, and them girls show up and show out every time. They come and they support me every time. I just recently graduated. I walked. I finished school. Got my bachelor's. I finished in October, but I walked in May. And them girls, they came, and so my baby was there, and Leg's friends were there, and just to see them, it felt so good, So those girls come. You would think because I'm older or whatever, I would have a lot of older women to come in but they're babies, and they're not babies. They're in their 30s, you know what I'm saying? But they support me.
And then it lets you know too that they need it as well.
They need it. It lets me know that they need it. They need it. And it also lets me know just how much they love Legacy, because the love that they have for Legacy, they're pouring it over on me. And I'm so appreciative. It feels so good for those girls to love on me the way that they do. And it feels good to, just to have anybody to show up at these brunches and celebrate me and walk my path with me, because they don't have to. They don't have to take their time away from their children and their families and work, but they do it every time. Anytime I invite them, they come out. And I'm so appreciative. And it helps me so much to be able to stand up there and say, girls, I'm not in a good place. I'm just not. And I can talk about where I'm at. I can talk about where I've been.
Mm-hmm.
And to know that where I've been and where I am now, I'm still here. And that's blessing in itself, that I am still here.
It is.
And that's what I have to display to these girls and these women that come, is that regardless of what I've been through, I'm still here. And as long as I'm here, I'm going to try my best to love on people and continue these brunches and just kind of walk a path and say, look at where he's brought me from.
I have something for you. Look at where he's brought me from. The strength that you have is not yours. Those are the words that you told me. Yes. I talked about your strength. You said the strength that you have is not yours.
Yes.
Tell the audience, what do you mean by that?
So oftentimes people are like, oh my gosh, you're so strong. You're so strong. But I don't think I'm strong at all. I really don't. I think that it's the prayers that people send up to God for me. It's, the faith that I have that I'm going to be okay and that my family is going to be okay. God is truly behind me 100%. Regardless of whatever I've been through, he's still behind me, and he gives me all the strength that I need to go to work, to take care of my baby, to put on brunches, or honestly, there are days when I just don't want to get up. I don't want to get up at all.
Yes.
And I don't want to get up. I don't want to go to work. I don't want to move. I just want to lay in my bed and soak in whatever it is. But in those times, it's when I say, God, just give me strength.
Mm-hmm.
And then I get up and I do exactly what it is I need to do. And he is where my strength comes from.
It's so beautiful. This has been such a good interview.
It really has.
Thank you.
Yeah. I'm telling you, God is good. Like I went to my high school reunion, 30 years. And I looked at my little picture of myself when I was a senior, because they had it on the little placard that you put on. And I was thinking to myself, I was like, that little girl did not realize where she would be in 30 years.
Yes, isn't that something?
She did not. And if I'm honest, if I could travel back and tell her, I don't think I would tell her to change anything, because the events that have happened has led me here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Regardless of how hard it is,
mm-hmm.
I have had the pleasure to give birth to 4 beautiful children. I've had the pleasure to fall in love over and over and over and over again. I've had the pleasure to experience love. And there's no love like the love that my children give me.
Mm-hmm.
And even now that 3 of them are gone, I know that they still love me.
Yes. Ooh.
I know they still love me, and I know they're still cheering for me. I know they want the best for me. I wouldn't change anything, because everything that I've gone through has made me the person that I am today. And I am so grateful that God keeps giving me day after day after day, chance after chance after chance. And I'm going to do what he needs me to do. I'm going to continue to ask for the strength for me to do whatever it is he needs for me to do.
I like that. You're saving lives. You're changing lives. You're giving women hope. You're giving people hope. A hope giver.
Yeah.
A hope giver. Tomorrow is James' birthday.
It is.
And we're going to end with this question. Tomorrow is James' birthday.
Mm-hmm.
Will you do anything to celebrate him tomorrow?
I typically go to the grave.
Mm-hmm.
Whether we release balloons or not, it just really depends.
Mm-hmm.
But just go to the grave and just talk to him. So because he passed, a while ago, he's not in the same cemetery as Junior and Legacy. So I have to travel to Rock Hill to go see him. But, typically, we would release balloons or what have you, but I don't know that I'll do that. I just want to just go and spend time with them, just quiet time.
Quiet time.
Yeah.
Happy birthday, James.
Happy birthday, James. Yes. My baby.
Thank you so very much.
You're very welcome.
Thank you. And this could be a whole nother interview because there's so many other questions that I have that I can ask, but we're already an hour and 24 minutes in. So much more that we could talk about. But just thank you for being transparent with us. Thank you for sharing your truths, your honest feelings. It has helped me. You have inspired me.
Thank you.
So I want to say thank you. And I have one last question for you. This is the Gail Estella Survival Podcast. Tell the audience 3 things that has helped you to survive.
My faith has helped me survive. The love that I have for my children, my family, and my friends has helped me to survive. And talking, communication. Speaking my truth, not holding it in. A lot of people don't like to wear their hearts on their sleeves because they're afraid of it, being broken. A lot of people don't want to spill and tell their stories because they are afraid of what people will think. At this point, I don't want to say I don't care. But I'm going to talk my truth. I'm going to speak my truth. I'm going to let people know how I feel because I know that is impactful and it helps somebody else. If I can save one person, I'm good. I'm happy. I'm so happy to save one person. Whether it's going to counseling, whether it's, feeling, down and feeling suicidal or just having the ability to get up. If I could just help one person get up, I've done what I needed to do.
Your job has already been done. You're doing just that. You are doing just that, Miss Teresa Barnette. You're saving lives and giving women hope.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
You have a great day, okay?
All right.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.